Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. Before we get started, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com.
On the podcast today, we have Stephen Key, an award-winning product developer, intellectual property strategist, and lifelong entrepreneur. He's also the author of a best-selling book about licensing inventions called One Simple Idea. So, Stephen, thank you so much for being with us. We are looking forward to talking to you today.
Well, thank you for that great introduction, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Well, Stephen, I don't think we've had anybody on our podcast yet that has been endorsed by Michael Jordan, Alex Trebek, and Taylor Swift. So I'm really looking forward to this interview, and I'm sure our listeners are as well. Can you share with us a little bit about your background and what your current focus is right now?
Oh, absolutely. I'm an inventor, product developer, creative guy. And for many, many years, I would come up with simple ideas and show those ideas to companies. And if they liked it, they would rent those ideas from me and they would take those ideas to market and I would collect a royalty on each and every one they sold. So I'm in the game of licensing and I am currently now teaching people that you do not have to start a business to launch your product idea. That's kind of old school. You can, but there's a lot of risk. So there's another way to do it, and it's called licensing, and that's what I'm teaching now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and it's funny that you mentioned that you don't have to start a business, but even as finding other people to license a product, and you're now becoming a business of licensing products. So you really kind of still do have a business, but it's just not trying to do all the heavy labor of doing the manufacturing and all that kind of stuff, and selling and distribution channels, and all the legwork or the busy work that somebody else already has in place.
No, you're absolutely correct. To really be in the game, it is a business. It's a creative business. So building relationships with companies, following up, making sure they have everything they need, going to trade shows and everything else. So yes, you're absolutely right, but it's not the heavy lifting of, writing a business plan or raising money or manufacturing and all that kind of stuff that people like myself really don't want to do.
Well, Stephen, can you walk us through a tough decision? I like to start off with one that maybe didn't have that good of an outcome. So I like to call it the tough decision sore thumb, or the sore thumb tough decision, where you made a decision to do something and to this day it still sticks out in your mind as like man, I should have done that differently. Although you might have learned a lot of lessons through that tough decision. So what I want to start with, if you can share with us one of those tough decisions that you've had that did not turn out so well.
I think the toughest decision I made looking back, I had this one idea that was doing extremely well. I had licensed it to a major manufacturer, one of the largest in the world. And I kind of walked away from it. And I made a mistake. And looking back, I should have stayed with it. In fact, what's crazy about it, Dan, I went on a vacation, took my kids around the country for 6 months and kind of just thought, well, I'm going to leave it in their hands to do a good job. And what I realized, I made a mistake, that you cannot just walk away from any licensing deal. Even though companies are going to do all the heavy lifting for you, you still have to stay with it.
What do you mean by walked away? Did you mean like you pulled it away from that person that was like you licensed it to, or you just kind of stepped away and let them do what they wanted to do with it?
Well, you signed this licensing agreement and they have the rights to sell it and market it, and they're doing extremely well. The royalties are coming in. The world is fantastic. So I just kind of walked away. I thought, it's in good hands. right? It's a big company. They're one of the biggest in the world. So I'm just going to take my family on a vacation and just kind of forget about it. So that's exactly what I did. Now, I don't regret taking my family on this vacation because it was a perfect timing, but I shouldn't have just let it go in someone else's hands. I think you have to stay involved in any business. Regardless if you've got great people helping you run it, you still need to be involved. That mistake, I think, cost literally millions of dollars to me. And looking back, I just believe you need to be helpful, right? You need to stay involved. You don't want to be the biggest pest on the planet, but you need to understand, have relationships with the salespeople, have relationships with the manufacturing people. Keep your finger on top of it. So if something does happen, you're aware of it and you can make some changes.
What are some things that you do right now with your licensing deals that you can continue to keep your fingers in it or your hand on it to make sure that you know what the pulse of that licensing deal is doing?
Oh, I just think you just reach out to all the people that are actually doing the work, not the head office, not the president, the vice president, but the actually people that are doing the work that, all the work it takes to deliver your product to market. So get to know the sales guys, give them a call, right? Take them out to lunch, get to know them, get to know their family, get to know the guys on the manufacturing line. That's really your team. Everybody thinks it's about the relationship with the guy in the front office with the beautiful office. No. Most businesses, the people that do the work, day in and day out, those are the individuals you really want to have a close relationship with because they will support you, and you support them.
I was saying that, and the salespeople are especially as the inventor of a product or the person who is bringing in this product to the market. Even though you're licensing it to this company, and they're the sales force for you, and they're doing all the production and all the heavy lifting. For those salespeople to have a connection with the person who invented it creates that alignment that allows them to want to sell it even more and talk more about it and feel more confident when they're talking to other people about it too, I would presume.
Oh, I agree 100%. But you know what it also allows you to do? Working with the sales team, they're going to tell you where the pushback is, or maybe when it is not working.
To improve the product.
Yes. And they're going to keep you very current on what's happening at that store level, right? And that information is really important to inventors because sometimes you have to redesign, or sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board, or the next revision, make some changes, or maybe the next improvement is some of the feedback the sales team is telling you. So yes, you should stay very close to it and ask a lot of questions.
So let's shift a little bit here, and I want to talk about a tough decision that you've made that had a really positive outcome. One that, kind of sticks out, and you're like, man, I made a really good decision here, and there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from that really good decision.
That's another great question. I got involved. I was asked to be a speaker at this event, and it was this amazing invention contest that inventors would come together, and within a very short period of time, they had to come up with an invention, solve a problem. And I was invited to speak, and I saw what this team of people were doing, and it was so fantastic. I said, I want to do more. In fact, this should be a TV show. It's so good that they actually brought me on. They gave me an equity position, and my job was to help launch this new, basically a new TV show. And it didn't go so well. There was a little conflict with the management team and myself, and the decision was to walk away, knowing that the timing wasn't right, I guess, for me or for them. And it was hard to walk away from it, but it was the best decision I could have ever made. Because even though this project was fun, it really wasn't helping my business. It was more of a side project. It was more one of those projects you just wanted to do. And I just wanted to do it, but I was spending so much time on this. Other parts of my business I was not paying attention to. So when I walked away, it was painful. I loved the people. I loved the concept. I loved everything about it. And I felt I was letting myself down and other people down. But I walked away, And it was the best thing that could happen because it allowed me now to spend that extra time on my real business and the people that work for me. And we worked together and we grew and we were so successful because of just focusing more on one thing rather than doing too many things. Yeah.
Can you, dive into that tough decision a little bit? Because it sounds like it's a tough decision that a lot of people struggle with when they get into the entrepreneurial space, when they start one entity and they want to go and open up another one and then another one, and they kind of get all these different bags that they're trying to hold up and, plates that they're trying to spin at the same time. So what was it at that time that really made you go, wait a minute, I need to step back here. I need to learn from this decision and learn from this experience and maybe just walk away from this opportunity, even though you think it might be the next greatest thing. What went through your mind to get you to that point?
Well, if something is too difficult or there's too many problems, you have to kind of look at it and go, there's a reason why. And sometimes just accept it. I've learned to accept things a little bit, that things probably won't go my way. And sometimes when things don't go your way, I don't fight it so much anymore. I'm just going to say, well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. And that's taken me a few years to have that outlook. But there's one book that I read that always kind of stays with me. And basically, for entrepreneurs, I think they can find great value in this. It's called Good to Great. And it says that to really be a great company or go from good to great, you really have to be the best in one area. Find that one thing you're going to be the best at and work at it, or find that one thing you could be the best. And the things that you're not going to be the best at, don't do. Okay, so it sounds so simple, but I think entrepreneurs, we get distracted so easily, right? And I do. And this was one of those projects that it was really fun, but it wasn't my skill set. It really didn't fit into my overall business plan. I just kind of wanted to do it, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. So everything I look at now, I tell my team, look, we're only going to do things that we're the best at. That way we're going to be successful. It's that formula from going from good to great. Is identifying what you're the best at, stay with it, keep on learning, keep on being innovative, and some of the other distractions, let them go.
Well, and that's really the basis of what you do now as far as the licensing, because you're helping these inventors, do what they're really good at by licensing out and offloading the other things that they're not great at. Is that right?
No, it's absolutely true. And thank you for pointing that out. Not everybody has the skills, money, or even the desire to run a business, or maybe not every project you should start a business, right? So licensing allows the people that are good at being creative and that do not want to take the financial risk of starting a business maybe, or don't have the time to devote to starting a business. So yes, you're absolutely right. Licensing gives people an opportunity that if they are creative, be creative, right? Stay with that and you'll be great at it.
Stephen, I wonder if you can maybe talk about a strategy or technique that you've developed to help make these difficult decisions, because you've got a lot of experience as an inventor and now helping other inventors. So what strategy do you use when you're facing a tough decision?
Well, there's another book I want to mention too that's helped me every day, I would say. And very rarely do you read a book that you use it every day. And the book is called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Because as inventors or entrepreneurs or just, leading your life every day, you have obstacles, problems, and they're never going to go away. So how do you turn those obstacles into opportunities for greatness? How do you turn those obstacles in situations where you can shine, or you can show your customer or a friend or anybody, turning that around to showing how remarkable you can be? So I think the way I look at problems today is they're not really problems. They're just ways for us to fix it and show that we stand behind who we are, and we are going to be that company people want to work with and trust. So they're never problems. They're just opportunities for doing a great job.
I want to shift gears here a little bit, Stephen, and I want to, as we wrap the show up on this episode, I want you to talk to us a little bit about the most exciting place you have traveled or the most extravagant item that you've purchased with the money that you've made as an entrepreneur.
That's an easy question. About 2 months ago, I took a trip to Egypt and Jordan. I love to travel, and that's been on my bucket list forever. And it was completely safe. It was wonderful. There's so much history there. There's no way you can absorb it all. But that was an amazing trip. And the food and the people, and it was just a wonderful experience. So,
and how many different countries have you visited in the past?
Well, that's my bad habit, Dan, is traveling, right? That's, a lot of people like things. I'm not too wild about things, but I do like to travel. So every year we take 2 international trips, just about. And
that is cool. That's a great idea.
Well, life is too short, and you have to kind of get out there and make it happen. The next trip will be, we're going to travel to the Amazon, take a boat down some part of the Amazon and enjoy the sights and sounds. Africa was wonderful. Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Scotland, France, Italy. It's funny, when you start to travel, you get the opportunity to observe other people. And I always feel how fortunate I am when I travel, okay, and be able to see other cultures and how other people live. So for me, it's a must.
Well, we had somebody recently, his name is Jeff Davis, on the podcast, and he is taking his family on a 12-month vacation, if you want to call it that. And he's taking his wife and his young children with him, and they're doing a 12-month journey on traveling to 29 countries and living in those countries over the next 12 months.
That's the most amazing experience, and I think it's life-changing. I had mentioned early on, I took my family around the United States, and part of it was some things I kind of let go. But I'll tell you, the biggest thing that happened to me, I realized, what do I truly need? And I realized I need one bag in my family. And it's those type of experiences that are just priceless. I think it changes your outlook on what's important. And from that trip, I came back and I changed my whole life because I realized I just didn't need some of the trappings that we think we need.
That's very, very true. What right now would you say is the next thing on your bucket list or the next thing that's on your vision board?
Oh, geez. I want to create a place for entrepreneurs and inventors, a website where we have all the best practices, a list of all service providers, everything they need to commercialize their dreams. And I want to build this place that's safe, that it has all the information that people need to move forward with their ideas. So that's the big project that I'm working on now. And the organization, it's called IGA, Inventors Groups of America, where all the leaders have come together now under one umbrella. And our mission is to empower and to educate entrepreneurs.
That is awesome, because that's basically taking your entire journey, what you've been doing, and kind of putting it into a resource for other inventors to be creative and come up with new ideas and get their ideas to market.
I think there needs to be some place where it's safe. There's no pay to play. It's completely free. And from that, hopefully people will join and get those ideas out of your head and on those store shelves. That's what I hope I can do.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule today to be with us on the podcast. We've got a lot of good lessons that we've learned from you. And how can the listeners reach out to you to follow you more or contact you to get more information?
Oh, thank you. The first thing, I have a YouTube channel called InventRight TV, where we have over 300 videos on how to license your ideas, how to bring them to market through licensing. And they're fast. I mean, they're not fast, but they're short. They're 10 minutes. They're funny. You will learn so much. I would also highly recommend, if you go to my website, Invent Right. You don't want to invent wrong. You want to invent right, RIGHT, inventright.com. And we have the largest library on the topic of licensing, which is absolutely free, and you can access all that information. And of course, one simple idea on Amazon is the 10 steps of how to license your idea. And you can find that on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and your local library.
And I'll make sure, Stephen, that we include those links so that everybody gets the spelling and things like that on our show notes, which can be found at toughdecisions.net. So for those of you who are listening and want to follow Stephen a little bit more, please search for his episode on our podcast, Stephen Key, and those show notes will be there with the proper links to get the information to how to follow Stephen and subscribe to his different channels that he has. So thank you so much, Stephen, for being with us. I wish you the very best, and look forward to having you on a future podcast as you continue to grow this idea that you have.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.